Welcome to Stand Up for Doctors. I'm your host, Kim Downey. Thank you very much for joining us. This channel is dedicated to amplifying the voices of doctors, other healthcare professionals, and patients as they share their unique struggles, triumphs, and passions. My mission is to build connection and create advocacy for healthy doctors, driving positive change that benefits both doctors and patients. This is a space for everyone who cares about the future of healthcare. If you appreciate this content, please like and subscribe now. It really helps the episodes reach our target audience. And I would like to welcome Dr. Tiffany Troso-Sandoval and Dr. Joanne Sotelo. Thanks for joining us today, Tiffany and Joanne.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
Kim.
having us. This is wonderful.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I've been on both of your podcasts, so I'm thrilled to reciprocate and to introduce you to each other.
Yay.
And by way of a brief introduction, Dr. Tiffany Troso-Sandoval is a medical oncologist, cancer coach, consultant, speaker, and author, helping cancer patients navigate treatment options, providing confidence, clarity, and calm. And Dr. Joanne Sotelo is a psychiatrist, emotional well-being coach, and speaker for women in medicine, transforming overwhelm into harmony, an international best-selling author and coffee lover. I love that. I take from people's LinkedIn tags, and then I let you share more of what you want us to know about you. But I love those fun little, like taglines. And today we'll be talking about how we're all authors, and my new collaborative book with 15 physicians just officially launched, and it's White Coats, Courageous Hearts, and true stories of doctors reclaiming their humanity in a system that challenges it. And in his endorsement inside the book, Simon Craig shared in part that perhaps the courage referred to in the book's title refers to the willingness to address an intimidating area for doctors, our own emotions. And I thought that was really powerful, and I love to unpack it. And I thought, who better to do that with than a psychiatrist and a medical oncologist? So I
So
am
Great.
true.
super excited for our conversation. And I always start by asking what you'd most like our audience to know about you. Joanne, would you like to go first?
Yes, I am from Puerto Rico, hence I'm gonna say my beautiful accent. I love it. And I live north of Austin. We were just talking about how hot it is. And I have two boys. One is 21. He has one more year of college and he wants to go into medical school. And the other one is 17, almost 17, and he's going to be a senior. So I'll be an empty nester next year. So I'm moving forward in life.
Wow, busy times.
Mhm.
Tiffany, what would you like us to know about you?
Well, I guess I'll match her. So I'm in New York, which I guess you could probably hear my New York twang come out once in a while. I'm married as well. My husband's actually from Guatemala, and my children, I have three children. They're all bilingual. Gabriella is 19 now. She just finished her freshman year in college. She's studying neuroscience. Tyler graduated from Princeton last year and is doing his MBA this year at Villanova. He's also a All-American athlete, plays lacrosse for both of those schools. And then Luke was a competitive tennis player. He went to WashU. He's now finishing up his fourth year of medical school in Virginia. He's going to be an orthopedic surgeon, God willing. So I have four cats. Actually, no, I have five cats because I have one in Punta Cana. So I have four cats here in New York. I have two dogs. And at one point I had a husband, four cats, two dogs, three kids, a housekeeper, and a husband, all in a pear tree. I used to do that better. I haven't done it in a long time.
That's funny. Busy.
That,
Busy. It's a zoo over here.
yeah, literally and
Literally.
metaphorically.
Exactly.
Wow. Well, you have some things in common for sure. And I am really happy to introduce you to each other. And so, Joanne, as we're starting this conversation, what do you think about that? I'll read it again. Dr. Simon Craig said, perhaps, because the title's White Coats, Courageous Hearts. And he said, perhaps the courage referred to in the book's title refers to the willingness to address an intimidating area for doctors, our own emotions. What does that bring to mind for you?
Hmm. So many things. First of all, I feel it in my heart, that comment, how beautiful. And I almost have like a little bit of a sense of sadness because most of us go into medicine very heart-centered to serve, to take care of others, and we don't always take care of ourselves, which is, part of the problem too. And somehow, like somewhere along the line, we were programmed, I said like that doctor programming to lock away our emotions. And in a way, there's like a practicality to it, right? Like if you're in the middle of an emergency or doing a surgery, something like that, like, you don't want your emotions to get in the way, but yet no one taught us how to get back to our emotions, right? And we forget even we sometimes get disconnected to our tiredness or a sense of hunger or going to the bathroom. It gets to that point, and it gets us in trouble. It gets us in trouble in terms of feeling bad if we're struggling, or we suffer in silence. We have shame, we have guilt. We sometimes don't even recognize it, and it adds to that sense of overwhelm, depression, anxiety, burnout, even suicidality. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to take that pause, zoom out a little bit, and really just asking the question of, how am I feeling? Like, really, how am I feeling? And even as a psychiatrist, I'm all about emotions. And yet when it comes to me, like sometimes it's like, no, I'm fine. I say that fine is the 4-letter word that starts with an F that gets us in trouble. And right.
Right.
And
I like that.
yeah. And even though that's part of my field, I've in struggled with it. I remember some years ago, my dad passed away, and my mom, my brother and I, we went into taking care of her mode. Like I went into doctor mode, and he's ex-military. So we took care of everything. And my friends were like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm fine." And I was sad. I could feel the sadness, but I couldn't grieve. It was the weirdest thing. And I would like almost feel it bubbling up. And I am so used to knocking down my emotions when I'm with patients so I can feel their emotions and process their emotions for them and then give it back, that then I had a hard time even connecting with mine. And it took a while, and I had to like let it come out in this weird ways and in subtle ways. And I love that we're doing more of this. And Kim, thank you so much for being such a beautiful voice for all of us and to connect us, because when one person is vulnerable, it gives permission to other people to be vulnerable too. And we don't feel that alone. We don't feel like there's something that we're broken because we're suffering. So it's been a beautiful journey for myself too. And to be a place also in the women in medicine that I coach, that I can help them be like, it's okay, let's talk about our emotions, even if we just talk about them briefly. And I love that. Yes, it takes courage, and we're there. It's the path that we need to take.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing that, because I love it when people share a powerful story, and especially like you as a psychiatrist sharing that when it comes to your own emotions, right? And I say so many times, every time a doctor shares their story, another doctor feels less alone, and that's why I have all kinds of doctors on talking about all kinds of things. So to have like a psychiatrist coming on and saying sometimes they struggled, even to process and understand their own emotions, like that's so beautiful and important, and that will absolutely help someone else. So, Tiffany, anything you'd wish to speak to what Joanne said and share a story of your own?
Sure. So I have to start by saying that I agree with everything that she said. I actually was nodding. My head could come off my head. I was nodding so hard to everything that I agree with you. I want to take a slightly different slant to it, though. And I want to point out the fact that I think that women in medicine in particular experience this differently than men do. Because I think that in our society and culturally, women are taught to be the rock, the center, the caregiver, the one that keeps everybody together. And so we have kind of a double jeopardy in terms of keeping back our emotions and not taking care of ourselves necessarily. And so, one of the things that I work with, even with my patients, but I think is applicable to physicians as well, is that you need to learn how to put yourself first a lot. And, the story that I always tell is that, I'm a breast cancer medical oncology specialist. And do you want to ask me when my last mammogram was? Right. So I know. and it's on my list. But there's always something or somebody else's need that's more important. We're the mothers, we're the caregivers. We often will keep things together at the workplace as well. The other thing that I thought of, just to find another little angle on what you were talking about, is that we need to realize that it's okay to show our emotions to patients. And I spend so much time, there's a time and place for it, obviously, and my patients might need me to be very strong when I'm making difficult decisions with them. But there are times when things are really sad, that the scan didn't look the way it was supposed to, that the marker is going up or what have you. And, I found myself crying, not sobbing, but tearing up with the patient and giving them a hug and letting them know that I'm fighting this with you and I'm walking the walk with you. And I'm not just the physician who's standing here reporting to you that, oh, things are bad. See you next week. So, I think that that's an important component. And one of the things that's so hard about being a doctor is being able to put that away when you have to, and then let it come out when you can. And the third thing, if you don't mind, a third angle I thought of is a little different than what Joanne had said, was the fact that, going back to women in general, women have to be there are different expectations of women. And so a woman who seems very confident or seems very passionate about something that she wants done, like, I really think that I need to have 25 minutes for my visits instead of 20 minutes itself, that doctor is often labeled as being pushy or obnoxious or not appropriate or not a team player or something. Whereas a man saying the same thing it's a different ballpark. So it's a difficult paradigm that we have to deal with as physician women, because how easy is it to be called a bitch when you're being assertive? And there's no connotation for men that's the same thing. It's a very difficult little balance that we have to have. So those are my three thoughts on the emotion component. But I love all that you're writing about, and it's so heartwarming that somebody is looking at it from the physician's perspective and how difficult it really can be for us.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And some of it is the culture of medicine has to change, and I'm still figuring out what Stand Up for Doctors is, because in some ways I'm thinking that I should form like some kind of international coalition, because I love Dr. Simon Craig's book, From Hurting to Healing, delivering love to medicine and healthcare. And he's in Australia, and he speaks to the same things, and it just shows that it's been pervasive in through, I think, the dark ages of medicine, or the dawn of medicine. And even that you talked about, like, putting yourselves last, it's like the culture of medicine trains that, when you're in residency, like, to go 12 hours without going to the bathroom, without eating, and you're trained to put yourself last. And then when you're an attending, then you don't get that back. And, when you were so busy in residency that your hobbies and everything drops away. And then you're left with, like, who am I now? What did I enjoy doing? And how do I really feel? And that's why I like that my Dr. Michael Hirsch, my physician coach, showed me that feelings wheel, that there's so many feelings, and I reference that sometimes, and that you're people and you deserve and need to feel all of the feelings like other humans do.
Sure.
Joanne, what would you like to add to that? And also, how you said you unlocked your own emotions little bits at a time. Do you care to share, like, how you did that?
So whenever I felt like crying, I would just let myself cry, and it would come at odd moments, like on my way to work, and I'm there like, no, my makeup, or in between patients. And I've learned early on in my residency in psychiatry, I think it's particularly important to have very strict boundaries with the patients, right? And hearing you, Tiffany, it's so neat, because I've softened up than it kind of in my later years, and I think the coaching has helped as well, that you can keep a boundary and still be superhuman. And I'm very empathic. I think that's one of my gifts, and that makes me a good psychiatrist, and that it's okay. And I was sharing with Kim, I've made the decision recently to put in my resignation letter at a place where I've not lived. Well, that's a slip. It feels like that,
right? Freudian slip, right?
Exactly. That I've worked at for almost 18 years, and I've been having to say goodbye to a lot of my patients, and they're telling me the most beautiful things, and I have teared up, and I've given probably more hugs in the last weeks, and I don't know, and it's like I'm just giving myself permission to be human and to feel myself and to feel with them. Of course, some of them have seen me all along. Like they remember me pregnant for that kid that's almost 17. So that's how long I've
Yep.
been their doctor. And so I know I'm an important person in their lives, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think it's something that you were saying, Kim, and I think it's also kind of redefining how we want to feel fulfilled and success and our joy, and recognizing that we really have to connect with the core of who we are. Like we take on so many roles, so many rules, so many routines, and then it's like and then so many things, and they're beautiful at the time, but then sometimes it's like layer upon layer, and we forget the core of who we are. And I
Mm.
love that work, in whether you're doing it yourself or with a coach or with a therapist, of start peeling off some of those layers and really connecting with your dreams, what you love, who you are. And I think and a lot of emotions are going to come out, and that's totally okay. It's very beautiful work, and kind of that identity shift that can come with it can be very powerful.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. And you're talking about, connection. And I think it's related to like vulnerability. And Dr. Michael Herschel say, it's okay to let little pieces of your self show. Vulnerable doesn't mean, you have to tell people everything, right? You get to choose. And also it helped to connect with your why and your purpose. And those connections, I think, with patients helps get you back to the why, like you did it to help people, right? And I know myself, as you guys know, I've had cancer 3 times in the last few years, and I've seen over 40 doctors. So I can tell you all the stories. I've had the most amazing, experiences with doctors, and I've had like horrible, experiences with that. And again, they might be burnt out, and I wish them well. But the way it feels for a patient, like, when you're sitting there, and then when a doctor does show a little emotion, or kind of like, oh my gosh, or like one doctor said, one said, I spent a lot of time thinking about your case. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, even when you weren't with me, you spent time thinking about me. And then another one said something like very similar. She goes, I was thinking about you a lot. You've been through so much. And that meant like so much to me, that they do really care. And I just love that when they like do show like a little emotion, that I know that you aren't just like another, body in a hospital gown to them, that you're a human.
Sure,
So
sure,
Tiffany, how do
absolutely.
you navigate all of that?
Well, as I mentioned before, I've always been the kind of physician that my patients know who I am. And, just like Joanne, I birthed 3 children. One was done in residency, next one in fellowship, and then one was born after I was an attending for about 5, 6 years. And so, like Joanne, I have many, many patients that watched me, basically give birth to my daughter, right? And so I would say that all of my patients knew me as a person, and I knew them as a person. And I always wanted to take the time to really understand who they were, what was important to them, where their standards were, because not everything is cookie cutter, right? And so we have to make decisions for patients in the right framework of what is right for them. And so I think that, it's part of my nature, but I think it's something that a lot of doctors could probably expand on quite a bit. And, as we get pressed for more RVUs and do more in less time, that humanistic component actually is what gets left behind, because we become mechanical and need to get through things. And so, so one of the beauties of, I didn't mention this yet, but I have retired from Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center in August of 24, after my own medical issue, and then an epiphany that I just can't practice like that anymore. I really wanted to be able to give my patients my heart and soul, their time, to understand them and to help them work through their own journeys. And so I have had less patients now, which is okay, but I am so thoroughly involved with them and get to spend such quality time that I think I'm making a dramatic difference in their lives, not just because of the medical recommendations that I give, but because of the support and the compassion that I can provide for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even when you only have a short time, because I understand some doctors will say, "Well, I don't know specifically what you're speaking to, and I don't have time for that." But even if it's like I have one doctor that we just talk about our vacations, and it's just something like that, because you can throw in,
Right.
some little thing that just like
Sure.
humanizes it for both of you, and then the patient can
Absolutely.
take some responsibility too, asking the doctor like, "How are you really doing?" or "Do you have any vacations coming up?" Just something to ask them about how they're doing and that you're interested in their life. So patients can take a little responsibility too for that. Uh,
That's interesting, Kim. I'm thinking of a couple of patients, but one in particular, she always scheduled at the end of the day. So she'd come in at like 5 o'clock and I was already clearly burnt to the crisp and my hair was all over, my eye makeup was probably smeared. And she'd immediately go, Dr. Tiffany, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm the same as always. I'm doing okay. She goes, come here. You need a hug. And she'd
oh,
always hug me. Always
That's
hug me. I'm
sweet.
like, no, I'm here to take care of you. She's like, yeah, but I have to take care of you so you can take care of me. Isn't that
That's sweet.
beautiful?
That's sweet. And I want to say, Tiffany, like what a beautiful example of what I was saying of redefining what success is for you. Because
Mm,
it's the way we're programmed, it's RVUs and patients and salary and leadership roles and publications. And it's no, it's like I need to revisit my priorities and my values in this season of my life. And I rather work less and
mhm.
spend more time with my patients and have more autonomy and take care of my health and be present for my family. And that's perfect, right? Like it's not the way we get programmed, but it's
Yeah.
the most beautiful example of then saying like, no, this is, and there's seasons that we do want to work more
Hmm.
and we, right, like, and we're setting our name and we're, building our practice and we have leadership positions and that's perfect. And then a little bit later in life, we're like, no, I need to slow down. And I've been thinking a lot about it because I, again, I've had this is a really good job. Nothing bad has happened.
Mm.
And then it's people ask me like, are you sure? Like, and it's like, yeah, I'm like, is it scary? Absolutely. Do I have like my oh shit moments? Yes.
Of
But
course.
I'm not feeling like it's not like, oh, I should go back. I should change my mind. It's been like, no, this is perfect time for me to do something a little bit different. And the other point I wanted to say, because of the I know, Kim, you talk a lot about this, of the nature of medicine and how this is the biggest exodus of doctors and we already have a shortage, and it's also the reminder of if you're not happy, if you're burned out, the answer does not necessarily mean leave medicine. It could be a shift. It could be sometimes even adding something else that you really love. Before I cut down my hours, I was already coaching, and that was so rewarding to me. It was a lot of work, but it was so rewarding that I showed up for work better because I was more fulfilled. And then eventually I said, like, this is too many hours. So I cut down
Mhm.
my doctor hours so I could do more coaching. But it's again, if the answer is leaving, of course, but I just wanted to say, like, it's right. Like, I think we're both saying that the same example that we just shifted, but we're still in medicine. We're just showing
Right.
up a little bit different. And it's a good reminder, Kim, for your audience. And like, it's sometimes just really having, again, the vulnerability to look inside and be, what do I really need in this season of my life? And it's
Hmm.
totally okay to change lanes. We don't have to stay in that narrow lane of
Yeah.
medicine, just
right.
just
Sure.
that institutional medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Charity Hicks has shared, she was the ophthalmologist, that she made things as good as she could in her job and in her life before she pivoted or shifted, because you take yourself with you wherever you go, right? So if you just think a new job is the answer or changing to something else, if you don't change your mindset along with it, you aren't going to be better off likely no matter what you do. But if you try to make things as good as you can where you are, and then you still want to shift, and then where all of you like have some control over your days, right? There's like 10, 20%, right? So you think about like how can you maximize that 10, 20%, or just shift one thing. Like, if you think about, okay, what one thing could I make better, right? And then do that. And if you just change one thing, because like doctors do need to know that there is always a path forward. And I'm all for, doctors doing what they need to do and be happy in their life. But also to your point that we need doctors. And, when doctors leave, then it's more onus on the doctors that are left. But doctors need doctors too, right? So we need doctors. So that's why we have the bigger issue of the culture of medicine has to change, the system has to change, and we all need to help that. And each individual doctor needs to do what they need to do to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
So, Tiffany, what are your practices to take care of yourself?
Well, they're evolving, I would say. I like to do Pilates. I do reformer Pilates, and so I try to go at least 2 or 3 times a week. I like to watch television every night with my husband. We usually sit down around 10 and try to limit ourselves to 2 episodes of whatever addicted show that we're watching. Let's see, I've always wanted to try to keep family dinners, everyone together at least over the weekends, and if not, at least one time a week. But, the kids are mostly out of the house now, but that was always a practice that was important to me. And taking vacations. Taking vacations are really important. I think that, and walking away from your responsibility and just turning off the emails for a day at least, you decompress and you start to find yourself again. I can actually tell you that since leaving Sloan and institutional medicine, so to speak, I've lost 10 pounds without changing pretty much anything. And I'm starting to feel my personality come back again. I was always a really happy person, and I started to feel like I wasn't myself anymore. And I'm now starting to feel that again. And so I think that, trying to get back to the things that make me happy, in addition to being a productive person in the world of medicine and still continuing to push forward and to help others, I think it's become really an important thing in my life. So
I love that. And Joanne, what do you do to shore yourself up?
Yes, I do like my morning routines. I like to work out. I'll either go to CrossFit. I've been doing that for many years, and
Oh, wow.
it's like a little community as well. Like I don't think too much about it, just roll out of bed and go. Or I'll go on walks or like short runs. I love my leisure walks as well, not just like workout walks. So connect with nature. I love to journal, even if it's literally just a few sentences a day. It's very grounding to me. And then I'll write maybe the top 2 or 3 things that I need to do. And that in the morning really sets my day. And again, I do love my Puerto Rican coffee. It's the best coffee. I don't know Guatemalan coffee. I don't know that.
Yeah, Guatemalan coffee's right up there.
So I have my little routines. I love my time with my boys. They're both big, so not big, well, tall, I guess, but older. So I have my youngest, my oldest is in college. So my youngest and I sometimes have like our sofa dates, and we're just on Instagram. Like we're not necessarily talking, but we're sharing. And then it's like, let me show you my feed and how my feed is different than yours. And, we laugh, and definitely the times that they want to hang out with me, I really cherish that, and I love what you're saying, Tiffany, because I don't know that I've ever, like, I feel very grateful that I've wear different hats. And even though it's a lot of time that I spent, I think that protected me from the full burnout. But I have, in me, giving myself permission to say, it's okay, you can leave this. It felt like almost like a divorce. It's like such a long relationship. It's given me like this space to, now my brain is filled with possibilities and ideas and this new enthusiasm for my work as a physician. It's been a beautiful thing. And again, I'm not leaving a place that's bad. Like I have a lot of like a very appropriate grief about it. And really giving myself permission for fun. Thank you for saying that. And I'm not, I have to admit, I'm not the best at it, but I have people, the closest people in my life, they're very good at adventure and fun. So they get me out of my box, and it's been like okay, this, I think I needed this. And yes, I've been like happier than I've been in many years. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, it is. It
Changes.
is.
Well, that's great. So you both are having some transitions, some very exciting transitions. And so as we begin to wind down, Tiffany, is there any last tips that you'd like to share with our audience? And also, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Sure. So, um, I just always want to say is be true to yourself. Make sure that however you're practicing medicine, how you're showing up every day, and how you take care of your own needs is important. And to make sure that you show up for yourself in addition to all of the responsibilities and duties that you have. I think it's so important in such a competitive, type of a medical field. And in terms of getting in touch with me, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Dr. Tiffany Troso on LinkedIn, or you can email me at drtiffanytroso@winningthecancerjourney.com.
Okay. And how about you, Joanne? Any last minute tips for our audience, and how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yes, I use every opportunity to say that it's okay to not be okay. What's not okay is to suffer in silence, and that there's hope and there's help, and always reach out, even if it's to a colleague, a friend, a therapist, a coach. Especially in medicine, like we're saying, like we shouldn't be struggling in silence, and we heal in connection and in community. And that's part of, beautiful Kim here building for all of us. So thank you. And
Thank you, Kim.
You're
I am
welcome.
I am here getting inspired in being more active in LinkedIn. So it's my name, Joanne Sotelo with one L, MD in LinkedIn. So I'll start being more active there. And I also have a website. It's called all together, theharmonizedhealer.com, and that it'll give you access to some information. And I coach mainly women in medicine, a lot of mindset, mental, emotional well-being, burnout prevention, transitions, identity work. I love all of that. And you can schedule a discovery call just to see how we can work together. So thank you.
Well,
Perfect.
that's fantastic. And also, I haven't formally announced it yet, but I'm hosting a physician retreat, Columbus Day weekend of 2026. So that's going to be another time for doctors to get together, connect, celebrate, empower, recharge. It's going to be fantastic. So if anyone listening wants information, you can reach out to me. And how I end every episode is I say that, and also I wanted to thank you for being my guest.
Thank
This is a
you.
great
Thank you.
conversation. You're
Thank you.
welcome. And in closing, to move the needle in healthcare, we all need to raise our voices and we all need to care about each other. We already know that doctors need to care about patients. Patients need to care about doctors too. So stand up, doctors, and let's stand up for doctors.
Yay.
So good.